Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Vivek. Today, I'm going to discuss a very important novel, uh, Patrick White's novel, The Tree of Man. Yes, dear friends, I'm going to discuss Tree of Man summary, detailed description, pros and cons, analysis of this novel we are going to discuss. So stay with me and try to understand this novel called The Tree of Man. Uh, this novel I'm going to discuss. And first of all, we'll discuss some of the details, some of the important details of this novel. This novel was first published in 1955 and then later on 1956. So this is the novel of 1950s. The important character of this novel uh, is Stan Parker. It's a very important character of this novel. We can say it is the protagonist of this novel, The Tree of Man. Then his wife, Amy Parker, and then they have children. Stan and Amy have they have children called Ray, and Ray married to Elsie Turbot, and their son is also called Ray. Thelma, the second child of Stan and Amy, is Thelma. Thelma is married to Dudley Forsythe, and there is a character called Leo, who is a traveler, and Amy had adultery with Leo for a short period of time. Now, the some of the neighbors of Stan and Amy, Miss Quigley, Mrs. Odwad, these are the friend and neighbors of Amy. So these are some of the important details of this novel. Now we move on to the this summary of this novel. This is a simple story of life of Parker family, in which Stan and Amy are the two main characters. Stan Parker gets ancestral property in Durilgai. It's a nearby place of Sydney, and it's a jungle basically. Now it's not a developed area; it's a jungle, deserted area. It's a deserted area of jungle. There he meets Amy. Stan meets Amy in the jungle, and whom he got married. Now they got married. Stan and Amy got married, and now Tree of Man is a story of life of Stan and Amy. Basically, it's a you can say it's a story of Stan and Amy, and living in a jungle, and they struggles a lot living during the period of in jungle skirmishes, some fights, small fights, problems. There are many problems living in the jungle, living in Durilgai. Problem like flood, problem of fire, problem of drought, and facing living at this place of the jungle. They face these kind of problems living in the jungle. And in the end, Stan died at the same place where he started in the beginning of the novel. Basically, a story in the beginning, you find Stan is taking a decision to move, to establish himself to a new place, which is ancestral place called Durilgai, and he died. He died at the end of the novel. Now, now we move on to to about this novel. Some of them, one critic I have chosen for the overall what he thinks. This critic thinks about this novel. The critic is James Stern of the New York Times. He wrote about Tree of Man, how he sees Tree of Man as he writes. I quote, "It seems to me is a timeless work of art from which no essential element is of life has been omitted. No essential element of life has been omitted in this novel. A magnifying glass has been laid over a microscopic world, in the center of which loom larger and larger man and woman, married, bound by love, and from whom radiate the beauty and tragedy of humanity. This is all life. It's all about life of Stan and Amy, the beauty and the tragedy of humanity. You'll see the beauty and tragedy of humanity. The life, it consists of problem, difficulties, and happiness as well. So you'll find everything in this novel. In the end of the novel, when the Stan died and his grandson called Ray, what he thinks, what a child as a child he thinks about the future. The Ray, the small Ray is young Ray. He want to write a poem. He want to write a poem. That poem would be of life. That would be related of life. Uh, he plans, small Ray plans to write a poem. It's written, so he would write of life. He would write of life, of all life, of what he did not know but knew. He did not knew what the life would be, but he knew the life of Stan, the grandfather. So whatever he knew, he will write about the life which he did not know. So this is he writes. This is he plans. Now, important characteristics of this novel called Tree of Man. This novel has symbolism. The important characteristic of this novel is it is Patrick White has used symbolism in this novel, and Stan and Emmy are like Adam and Eve. Here in the jungle, living in the jungle, it's depicted like as a Adam and Eve. The problems they are facing together, they are living together. They commit mistakes. Everything is the same as Adam and Eve. They did. Amy, the old man, here it is, Amy is introduced as old man, old woman, sorry, and sometimes it's also addressed as the woman, and then Stan is addressed as the man. So you can associate the life of Stan and Amy with Adam and Eve. He writes, uh, Patrick White himself writes in one of the essays, he writes, I wanted to discover the extraordinary behind the ordinary. So his purpose is to find an extraordinary behind the ordinary life. David Marr, important biographer, is David Marr is an important biographer who writes about Patrick White. He writes he lived a simple life. Patrick White lived a simple life. He writes about Patrick White. Now, this is a novel is a pursuit of purity and goodness. You'll find purity and goodness in the novel. Australian literature, there is about Australian literature, what's all about Australian literature. It is a literature of the settler colony, representing a complexity of the formation of both Australian cultural identity and its culture. Here, the Patrick Wise has depicted the uh, culture of Australia, the complexities, and you'll find in this novel, Tree of Man. The novel is concerned with the themes of self discovery and self identity. These are the two important themes of this novel, self discovery and self identity. Which is very important characteristics of post-colonial literature. The writer ends the novel with there's a quote in the last lines of this novel is, so that in the end there was no end. Why he writes, why Patrick White writes this, in the end there was no end. In the end of the novel, Sten died, and his grandson Ray is depicted as a young life, and you want to write a poetry related to life. So life begins. There is no end of life. There is a beginning of new life in the form of Ray. So very beautiful lines by Patrick White, and then the end of the novel. This is all about this novel. Thank you so much for watching this video of mine, and I want your comment. How you see, if you have read the novel, give your comments. How you see it? Some of the lines about your perception regarding this novel, a beautiful novel by Patrick White. So, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much.